Hey everyone, happy Monday night. This is Porcelain Picks, and I'm your host, Andrew Fabian, bringing you week 8 edition of Porcelain Audit. So, week 8, another losing week for the Porcelain Boys, this time finishing 9-11 in the 20 game stretch. We were buoyed by Joey Mack and the Maction Locks of the week. We'll jump into the action in just a second, but first, we want to say this is our time to be accountable to you, our viewers. So, again, 9-11 on the week 8 slate, led by the awful night game cap picked by yours truly. However, on the season, we are 72, 54, and 1. So we're still committed to bringing you the picks you need, the locks you need as you scroll atop the porcelain throne. Let's jump in before we do better in week 9. All right. So we'll take you to the noon action. So the big game of the day, Penn State at Ohio State. This one had very little offense in the game. You saw Marvin Harrison Jr. emerge. This guy is obviously a future NFL talent, probably the best receiver in all of college football. Both of these defenses are stout. The biggest frustration to me as a Penn State fan is just year after year in these big games, James Franklin at halftime being either unwilling or unable to adjust to the changes that need to be made in order to win a big football game. All right, so Penn State play calling really just questionable. They were running the ball with Singleton in the first quarter. He only had 9 carries in the game. It just made no sense. But ultimately, Ohio State was the victor. They were the better team on Saturday. So Buckeyes won this pick. I had Penn State plus 5.5. That one lost. The under, though, was a hit. That was 45.5. That one was never in question, again, in a defensive battle. Hopefully, James Franklin can get back on his covering the pick ways next week against Indiana. All right, let's jump to the SEC. So we had Mississippi State at Arkansas. Arkansas minus 6.5 was the pick. They just did not show up in a big way. This was a low-scoring game. You had Mississippi State and Arkansas playing defense throughout. Mississippi State wins this game. Razorbacks just looked god-awful. KJ Jefferson never got it going. This one was a loss. Flush that one down the toilet. All right, let's go. Big 12 action. We had UCF at Oklahoma. UCF shows up in a big way. I told you to take them 17.5. They were getting the points. They almost win this game. They were winning late. Oklahoma and Dylan Gabriel just pulled this one out at the end. Big win for Oklahoma as they keep their national championship aspirations alive. UCF takes the plus 17.5, lock it, flush it. Over 67.5 was my pick in this game. That did not hit, so I apologize for that. I thought the offenses would be putting some more points on the board, but this one ultimately finished just short of that over. All right, let's move into the Maction Locks of the Week, hosted by Joey Mack. Joe had 2 picks this week. Both of these were sure things. All right, Bowling Green hosting Akron. Bowling Green was the 7.5 point favorite. This one had very little doubt. Akron was ahead early, but Bowling Green just turned it on. Bowling Green minus 7.5. Lock it, flush it. That was a winner. Buffalo minus 6.5. We fade Kent State all year long, and it works again. Joey Mack with another good pick. Buffalo minus 6.5. Lock that one, flush that one. Back to the SEC. We had Coach Saban in Tuscaloosa hosting Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee actually got up in this game 10-zip early on. This one was looked a little bit questionable for Alabama early, but they turned it on. Jalen Milroe had a good game for the Tide. They cover 8.5. Lock it, flush it. All right, the big defensive bout, the Big Ten West. We had Minnesota at Iowa. I told you take the lowest point total and take the under. This was a historic low, 30.5 points. This was never in doubt. 30.5 under, lock it, flush it. Iowa's offense is just totally inept. They actually could have won this game. They had a punt return that was called back on that phantom fair catch signal. That could have been the stinker of the week, but we had plenty of others to get to. So that under was never in doubt. Okay, Oklahoma State went to West Virginia. I told you, take Oklahoma State. They were hot. Take the Pokes plus 3.5. They end up winning outright. This one was a massacre. They just poured it on West Virginia. It was poor weather at the start of the game. It ended up not inhibiting any scoring. So I told you to take the under 50.5. That one was a miss. So we went 1 for 1 in that game. All right, let's move back to the SEC. South Carolina at Missouri. This one, I told you to take the over 58.5. We had Spencer Rattler matching up with Brady Cook. We had two good passing offenses, but Rattler did not show up. South Carolina just got blown out of the building. Missouri, I'm starting to think they're for real. They're a fun team to watch with Luther Burden, one of the best wide receivers in the college football this season. Missouri just poured it on this game. I also told you I was leaning towards taking Missouri minus 7.5. I wish I would have went with that, but I didn't. Hopefully you took that one. But the over 58.5 was a miss. All right. So the last afternoon game, so we had Wisconsin at Illinois, another Big Ten West battle. I told you to take two picks in this game. We had Wisconsin -3, and we had the under 41.5 with the ugly offenses these two teams possess. But Wisconsin ends up covering the 3 points. This was kind of a lucky win there on the -3. Locked that one, flushed that one. It actually went over the point total, so I was wrong on that under. I also want to call out, I did say Graham Mertz as I was covering this game. A little bit of a brain fart on Friday. Graham Mertz, obviously with the Florida Gators, Wisconsin had their backup quarterback playing. They were ultimately able to win this game. So we apologize for that blemish on the talk track there. All right, let's go to the night games. This is where it really crushed us on Saturday night. All right, starting at 7:30, we had Duke going to Florida State. I told you this would be a defensive battle. I think Duke's defense is pretty legit. Florida State as well. They've played some good defense this year. Over-under was set at 49.5. I thought this would be a lower scoring game than it was. Florida State, I should have went with my gut and picked them -18.5, but I told you this would be a 28-17 or 31-17 style game, and I was wrong. So it went over. It went over easily. This was a miss. Flush that one down the toilet. All right, let's go back to the Big Ten. Big rivalry game. We had Harbaugh and Michigan Wolverines traveling to Sparty to face Michigan State. This one was Michigan State plus 24.5. I thought this was going to be a lock. It was not. I thought Harbaugh and the Wolverines were going to be distracted. They were not. They pour it on. They're angry. They win 49-zip at the rival Spartans Stadium, and this was just an ugly one from the get-go. It was 28-0 at halftime. We were hoping for a backdoor cover. Maybe they take their foot off the gas, but obviously they're not going to do that to a rival. They're not going to do that when they're angry. Harbaugh and Michigan are looking like the best team in college football. I actually put them at number 1 in our rapid reaction rankings that you can find on our Twitter. Michigan, number 1 in the country. I was wrong on this one. Flush this one down the toilet. All right. We had Clemson at Miami. All right. I told you to take Clemson -3 in this game. The U is reeling. Clemson off their game so far this season with a couple ugly losses, one tight loss, another ugly loss. This one was not good. You saw at the end, Cade Klubnik with a chance to actually hit this one for the Porcelain Boys. He ends up calling his own number and getting tackled for a loss on a quarterback sneak. When they were supposed to hand the ball off. This game ended pretty ugly for Clemson. Dabo Swinney, this guy, I don't know, man. I don't know about this guy with the future with Clemson. They might need to move on if they're going to stay relevant, or they'll start slipping into obscurity. So we were wrong on this one. -3. Flush that one down the toilet. All right, the one bright spot of the night, we had Utah at USC. I told you to take two picks in this game. I told you Utah +7, and that they could very well win this game outright. I also told you to take Utah, USC under 53.5. I thought this would be a defensive battle with Utah's defense. I thought USC could stop the run with Utah in that one-dimensional offense. I thought Caleb Williams would have a bit of a bounce-back game. He didn't play too poorly. He had an okay game. He had a rushing touchdown towards the end to give USC the lead. But ultimately, Utah is a strong team. I've been telling you that all season long. I've loved the Utes. They don't have stars on this team. They're a bunch of pig farmers. They're a bunch of guys that just go out and work and get the job done without their starting star quarterback all year, I might add. They're not going to have him. And again, they need him. I'm not going to say they don't need him, but they can get the job done regardless. I think Utah has a strong chance to repeat as the Pac-12 champs. It's going to be fun seeing them match up with Oregon this upcoming week with College Game Day. You can be sure that I'll be picking that game, all right? Utah +7 was a lock it, flush it. They actually went out right. It was fun to see. Caleb Williams and just distraught USC. We'll see where they head the rest of the season. Not looking good for the Trojans. The under missed. This was a high-scoring game. 53.5 was no match. So I got that one wrong. So flush that one down the tube. All right. Last game of the night, Arizona State at Washington. I told you to take Washington Huskies, 27.5-point favorite at home. I thought Michael Penix Jr. was going to put on a show and get the Heisman viewership up there. This was a Pac-12 after dark game. I actually went to bed before this game even started, woke up, couldn't believe my eyes with the 15-7 Washington victory. And then I couldn't believe when I watched the replay here, that phantom no call on the pass interference. Arizona State actually deserved to win this game outright, and man, that would have been bad for Washington and for the Pac-12. But ultimately, Washington wins, but they do not cover the 27.5. So flush that one down the tube. All right. So it was a poor week. Anything losing record, really anything under 60%. Us at Porcelain Picks, we at Porcelain Picks just deem a bad week. We are committed to bringing you the locks you need. As you scroll atop the Porcelain Throne, we went 9-11 again in week 8. We are committed to doing better and building on that 72-54-1 overall record. We'll do better in week 9. Watch for the picks coming up on Friday. For Porcelain Picks, I'm Andrew Fabian. Over and out. Happy college football.